Hey, hello from the Hashknife. Well, it's the end of July 2021. This has been a tough year. And what I got behind me here is what I've got left over from last year's hay. And it's actually some decent quality horse hay, so I got to kind of hang on to that if I can. It's been a dry year and it's been super hot. So the growth on hay fields, of which we don't have one, and always depend on others to purchase our hay from, has got limited growth, and to the point where a lot of guys that are really in it, really know what they're doing, are getting maybe half of what they normally do, which consequently has driven up the price of hay. As you can see, this behind me here is my whole stack yard, and that should be about full by now, by this time of year. So it's a little bleak. I'm a little worried. I'm a lot worried, and because it's been as hot and dry as it has, and we've had a lot of grasshoppers that have wiped out our winter pasture. The summer pasture is all native grass, and it's just not as palatable to these stinking grasshoppers. But our winter pasture has improved grass, and it's gone. So in order to save what we got as a herd that we've worked for, several decades to build up, about 30 years, 3 decades or so, that's just my wife and I, not counting what my folks had done before. And so we've got to try to save what we can, but it's a gamble. If I can buy enough hay at, it's over twice the price we normally pay for it, I can save some cows. But there comes a point where those cows are only worth so much compared to the price of hay. So I found some hay to the help of one of our truck drivers that brings it to us every year. But it's clear over in eastern Nebraska, if you can believe that. And we're talking about 500 miles away or so, or better. And he's going to get us some. We need to be able to save our herd to the best of our abilities by culling some of the older cows, keeping the best we got. I need about 300 ton to 350 ton, because we got to start feeding here as soon as we get it, right at the 1st of August, instead of waiting till about end of November or December. Anyway, we have to modify some equipment because this hay that's coming are big square bales, and we're not set up to handle big square bales. We use these roly-poly, roll them out like toilet paper rolls type of bales. But I'm going to take what I can get, and it doesn't matter. We're going to use some scrap that we've got here and a couple of pieces of good iron that I bought, and some spears that I'm going to build a deal to put on the tractor so we can spear these bales and be able to handle them without breaking a bunch of twine, and actually be able to be efficient about it and be able to feed them off. So stay tuned for a bunch of cutting, grinding, welding, and cussing. So the first thing I've got to do is take this pallet fork that goes on the front of the tractor with an attachment and take these pallet forks off. They're very long, and you can't really skewer a bale with it. You could get under some, but you can't get underneath of it without maybe tearing up a truck driver's trailer bed, and I don't want to do that. And it makes it so we can handle them later. So I'm going to take these 2 spears that I purchased, and I got some new channel and some new 2x4 inch box steel, and I'm going to engineer something here that I think will be able to replace these forks on this and use one piece of equipment and use a bunch of scrap iron for the feed off portion of this when we get to that we've got around here. And instead of having extra pieces of equipment that you could buy for about 700 bucks, 800 bucks for a cheap one, I can probably do this for about $300, and that's the $300 laying right there, those 2 spears and a couple of pieces of iron. Believe it or not, it's expensive stuff. So the best thing to do is build your pattern off of the pattern that's already there. And this saved me a little bit of time. Just duplicate what we got so that it is able to be put on and off the same way these are. And that way I've got one piece of equipment for two uses, and basically works the same way. I probably will not put that piece in there to lock it in place on the top of these. Not a big deal. I'm going to set it down so that it'll set in there and the gravity will hold it down, and then I can just pick it up and slide it when I need to. A little bit more labor involved, but a whole lot less, again, expense to get that piece and that lock, and then not have to put it in and be a little bit more precise about it. So I pre-cut this from the steel shop to 48 inches. I know I'm going to use exactly half. That's half of my cuts, but normally I would turn this 90 degrees to get under here to make this a shorter cut across here with your surface area, but I can't get this underneath my blade. So, we do what we can do, and we take our time. Here we go. All right, 2 cuts. So I've measured the center holes here, and I'm going to put just a little bit of a divot here. Each one of these where they're centered, so that I can start the drill and punch some big holes to take the receiver portion, or the bushing part of the spear. Yeah, I don't like that. That might have worked. Okay, now to drill these out. Alright, so I've got this piece of box steel, and I'm going to drill through the top and the bottom so the holes are lined properly or straight. Pull this up. And we've got a hole perfectly aligned. So, whatever we put in here now, when you do the hole saw, we'll be able to be much closer to a 90-degree angle to this. We hope. So now I got to put together a mount for the back of this. I've cut part of this off, and I've left some relief here so that I can get this portion. Back of the mount sits like this, and we want it to sit over the top and be able to slide and move, but not come jumping over the top. So I left some relief. Then I'm going to weld this to the top of our box steel and create, hopefully, a good solid mount. Well, hang on. Now I hope, and I have no idea in the world if this is going to work or not, but just kind of some ranch engineering here. I need to pull this back about like that, so that sits like that, and that plate comes up behind here, and this just keeps it from tipping forward. So we'll get a couple of these made up and see if we can get them to stick with a hot iron and electricity. I've tack welded on the corners here for my top mount, and now I'm just going to kind of finish these welds up and do more of a custom fit. It's not pretty, but it should be stout. I may overlay another strap over the top of this to give it some added reinforced strength, because this is going to be the weakest point right here. And we'll see what we can do. Make that stronger, or even bring it this way and over the top. Get some stability in there somehow. All right, now I'm going to use a cutting torch and take a piece of scrap that we've got here, and this plate, about almost ½ inch thick, I'm going to put it on the top of that mounting bracket that I said we needed to reinforce. I think I'll just do a whole plate across the top since I got this here. It's a good chunk, and see if we can't make this thing really stout. Right. Cutting metal with fire just never gets old. So, I'll just bang this off of here, clean it up, and then we will weld it on the top. Well, you notice I've got a plate welded on top of here, and now I'm going to put a cap over the top of that and down each side, just for some added protection on the front of this, to kind of give it a little bit more strength. I'm known for building stuff that a nuclear blast couldn't take out, so I gotta maintain a rep here. All right, on that. I think that's going to hold. Okay, time to heat this guy up and bend him over. All right, do the same thing on this other side, and then we'll weld them, tack them down. And we should be set for that one, and now to build the other one. Okay, we got one on, and here's our last one. We're gonna fit it up. Pretty tight tolerance here, that's what we want. We want it jumping around all the place. Spear and our bushing. You see I've welded these bushings through both sides, and now we can attach our nut on the back, hold these guys in place, and then we'll go see if we can pick up a bale and see if it fails or not. This is kind of testing by doing, and it will be interesting. I think we're going to be good. Everything's solid. I'll hook it up on the tractor and see what it can do. So here we are, coming into the stack. Let us see just how good a job we did here. Fingers crossed. And this is kind of a ratty bale, one that kind of got tore up, so this is kind of a good test to see whether it's going to hang together or not. So far, so good. Should be a little easier because I've got no grapple forks in strings. I can just kind of set it down, cut the net wrap, and just dump it in. Look at that. Nice. Like it when something works. Now, bring on that hay. Alright, we're going to try to take two at a time here. Be a little bit more efficient. And that'll be a good test to see if this holds up. Go nice and slow. A lot of weight, feels heavy. These bales are about 1,400 pounds, I think. So that's about 2,800 pounds right there. All right, we'll build a stack. Well, that didn't stack too bad. I hurried up, got that unloaded so that man can get himself home. He hasn't been home for a while. He's driven 2 days, 1,200 miles just to get this hay to us, so it'll stack better than that stuff does, but it won't feed off as easy because we don't have a way to feed it off yet. So I'm going to have to now devise something and scratch the noodle a little bit to figure out how I'm going to make a Godivis to feed these off, since we don't have one store-bought. Well, we'll see how we do that.